Hindu Kush Mountains, Afghanistan, March 2002. 3 elite operators vanished in these peaks. The 4th team, sent to find them, discovered something that had been studying human warfare for millennia. From the depths of my collection, the War Maestro brings you a tale of ancient watchers who have learned our ways of war all too well. In the harsh confines of Forward Operating Base Chapman, Coast Province, the Joint Special Operations Command's after-action report from March 15, 2002, detailed the curious disappearance of Shadow Team, a 3-man special reconnaissance unit. Their final transmission, logged at 0347 hours, mentioned unusual seismic activity in a valley system northwest of Kandahar. The location itself had a darker history. Soviet military archives, recently declassified, documented the unexplained disappearance of entire Mujahideen supply caravans in the same region during their occupation. Lieutenant Colonel James Morrison, commanding officer of the recovery operation, found himself studying thermal imaging captures from Shadow Team's last known position. The grainy footage showed a massive heat signature moving through a narrow mountain pass. The computer analysis estimated its height at nearly 12 feet. Morrison dismissed it as equipment malfunction, a common occurrence in the extreme conditions of the Hindu Kush. But the pattern of movement, the way it used terrain features for concealment, suggested an unsettling tactical awareness. The recovery team, designated Hunter 2, consisted of 6 Tier 1 operators with extensive mountain warfare experience. Their initial assessment of Shadow Team's observation post revealed an intact setup, functional equipment, untouched supplies, and no signs of struggle. The team's final log entry described structures in the rock face that don't match geological surveys. Ground-penetrating radar revealed an extensive tunnel network absent from Soviet-era mining maps. Morrison's personal notes, later found in a classified addendum, described his meeting with a village elder who refused to approach the area. The elder spoke of the ancient ones who guard the deep places, claiming Alexander's armies had encountered them during their campaign. When pressed for details, the elder simply touched the ammunition pouches on Morrison's vest and said, "Your weapons mean nothing to them. They have watched us kill each other for thousands of years. They have learned." As darkness descended over the Hindu Kush, Hunter 2 established their observation post in a position overlooking the valley where Shadow Team had vanished. The night vision footage from their first watch revealed something that challenged their combat-hardened composure, massive shadows moving with deliberate purpose through terrain that would challenge even the most experienced operators. The thermal signatures suggested body masses far larger than human, yet they displayed an understanding of modern tactical movement that seemed impossible for any primitive entity. That night, as Hunter 2 maintained their vigilant watch, they reported hearing deep, rhythmic sounds emanating from within the mountain itself. The audio analysis would later show frequencies below human vocal range, with patterns suggesting deliberate communication. The team's thermal optics kept malfunctioning near certain rock formations that appeared to be artificially modified. In the morning, they found massive depressions in the soil, like footprints, but with bone structure implications that defied known anthropological records. The pattern suggested whatever made them understood modern infantry tactics, using natural cover and concealment with disturbing precision. The geological report from Hunter 2's combat engineer, Master Sergeant Chen, revealed something that shook the team's collective military experience. The rock formations surrounding the valley weren't natural. They showed evidence of precise geometric patterns weathered by millennia. More disturbing were the carbon dating results from mineral deposits in recently disturbed areas, over 12,000 years old, predating known human civilization in the region. Ancient Persian texts, discovered during the team's pre-mission research, spoke of mountain-dwelling giants who taught men the art of war. British surveyors during the First Anglo-Afghan War documented similar tales, dismissing them as tribal superstition. But their maps marked certain valleys as unfavorable for military operations, without providing tactical justification. The team found fragments of stone tablets bearing military formations that seemed to evolve from ancient to modern tactics, as if recording the progression of warfare itself. As Hunter II pushed deeper into the valley system, their encrypted communications began picking up irregular interference. Brief bursts of what sounded like deep, guttural speech, far below normal human vocal ranges. Staff Sergeant Williams, their communications specialist, noted that the patterns matched no known signals. Intelligence database, but displayed clear linguistic structures. The frequencies penetrated solid rock in ways that suggested an advanced understanding of acoustic properties. The team discovered carved recesses in the valley walls, perfectly sized for modern sniper hides. Inside one, they found stone tools dated to the Paleolithic era, alongside spent cartridge casings from the Soviet-Afghan War. The positioning provided perfect overlapping fields of fire. Whoever or whatever made these had an intricate understanding of modern small unit tactics. More disturbing was the evidence of recent use: warm brass casings that couldn't have been more than a few hours old. Local shepherds avoided the area entirely, speaking of how their grandfathers had seen the tall ones during the British campaigns, studying battles from the shadows. They described figures that moved with deliberate purpose, recording human warfare through the centuries. Morrison's team found Soviet-era documents detailing similar sightings during their occupation, reports that were quickly classified and buried in military archives. That evening, as Hunter II established their night observation post, they recorded thermal signatures moving through the valley with practiced military precision, using dead space and terrain masking exactly as special operations teams would. The movement patterns suggested not just intelligence, but an understanding of modern combat tactics that could only come from centuries of observation. Their night vision devices captured glimpses of enormous figures conducting what appeared to be a tactical analysis of recent coalition force movements in the area. The third day of Hunter II's operation brought them face to face with evidence they couldn't rationalize away. Their ground-penetrating radar revealed a vast network of tunnels that seemed to pulse with activity. The imaging showed chambers large enough to accommodate 12-foot beings, with architectural features suggesting they were designed for creatures far stronger than humans. The structural engineering displayed an understanding of load-bearing physics that shouldn't have been possible for prehistoric builders. The team's tracker, Sergeant First Class Rodriguez, found signs that disturbed his 20 years of special operations experience. The way branches were broken on trails, the pattern of disturbed soil, it all indicated movement by something that understood modern infantry tactics, but possessed strength far beyond human capability. Rodriguez discovered markers that mirrored current special operations techniques for indicating patrol routes, but scaled for beings of enormous size and strength. While searching a narrow canyon, Hunter II discovered a cave entrance partially concealed by recent rockfall. Inside, they found walls covered in what appeared to be tactical diagrams spanning different eras, from ancient phalanx formations to modern fire team movements. The drawings showed a progression of understanding, as if something had been studying the evolution of human combat doctrine since the first armies marched through these passes. Carbon dating of the pigments revealed layers of documentation spanning thousands of years. Master Sergeant Chen's analysis of soil samples revealed traces of gunpowder residue mixed with far older organic compounds. The carbon dating results made no sense. The samples showed continuous disruption spanning thousands of years, suggesting something had been actively using these tunnels since before the rise of human civilization. Equipment malfunctions became more frequent as they penetrated deeper into the cave system, with their advanced military technology behaving erratically in ways that defied technical explanation. The team's night vision footage captured glimpses of movement that defied explanation. Massive shadows moving with tactical precision through terrain that would challenge even the most experienced special operations units. The thermal signatures suggested body masses far larger than human, yet they moved with deliberate purpose, understanding concepts like enfilade fire and interlocking fields of observation. Each movement demonstrated an unsettling grasp of modern military doctrine. Lieutenant Colonel Morrison's report noted how the entity's tactical movements displayed an understanding of modern combat that went beyond simple observation. It anticipated the team's maneuvers, showing an awareness of current special operations procedures that should have been impossible for any outside observer to grasp. Most disturbing were the fresh markings they found. Precise measurements of the team's own movements, documented with the same methodical attention that had recorded thousands of years of human warfare. At dawn on the fourth day, Hunter II's worst fears materialized. Their perimeter sensors detected multiple large contacts moving with coordinated precision through the valley's dead space. The thermal signatures matched what they'd seen before: massive, humanoid figures using modern small unit tactics, but with a fluidity that suggested intimate familiarity with the terrain going back centuries. The team's motion detection algorithms registered movement patterns that exactly matched current special operations infiltration techniques. During their morning reconnaissance, the team found evidence that shattered their remaining skepticism. Hidden caches, some clearly recent and others ancient, contained artifacts spanning millennia of warfare. Bronze Age weapons laid alongside Soviet-era ammunition, all showing signs of systematic study. The positioning of these caches demonstrated an understanding of modern military logistics that shouldn't have been possible for any isolated entity. Each location had been chosen with perfect tactical awareness of cover, concealment, and fields of fire. The team's combat documentation specialist, Staff Sergeant Cooper, captured footage of something that defied operational security protocols. Through his high-powered optics, he observed one of the entities analyzing a recently abandoned Taliban fighting position. Its movements showed not just understanding, but critical analysis, examining fields of fire, assessing cover and concealment, even appearing to make mental notes of improvements to the position's defensive setup. The creature demonstrated an understanding of modern combat engineering that went beyond mere imitation. The being's behavior suggested something far more disturbing than mere observation. It displayed an understanding of modern combat evolution, from the development of gunpowder weapons to current counterinsurgency doctrine. This wasn't just an unknown species. It was an intelligence that had been actively studying and adapting to human warfare for thousands of years. Cooper's footage showed the entity testing sight lines and measuring distances with precise military methodology. Morrison's team intercepted communications that carried implications beyond their mission parameters. The deep, resonating sounds they'd been detecting weren't random. They formed a pattern consistent with tactical communications. Signal analysis revealed frequencies that could penetrate solid rock, suggesting these beings had developed methods to coordinate military operations through the mountain itself. The patterns matched modern military communication protocols, but operated on frequencies that penetrated solid rock. As darkness approached, Hunter 2's forward elements reported movement patterns that sent chills through the hardened operators. The entities were using techniques that had only been developed by special operations units in the past decade, demonstrating an ability to learn and adapt that went beyond simple mimicry. Their movements suggested not just an understanding of modern tactics, but an ability to improve upon them using their superior size and strength. The mountains themselves seemed to pulse with their deep, coordinated communications. On the fifth day, Hunter 2's mission transformed from reconnaissance to survival. Their drone footage captured something that violated every natural law: a 12-foot humanoid figure systematically dismantling a recently abandoned insurgent bunker, analyzing its construction with methodical precision. The entity moved with a disturbing combination of prehistoric strength and modern tactical awareness, using cover and concealment that matched current special operations protocols. Its analysis of the fortification demonstrated an understanding of military engineering that spanned centuries of warfare. The team's breakthrough in locating Shadow Team came at a devastating cost. Their ground-penetrating radar detected a cavity system that resonated at frequencies matching the mysterious communications they'd been tracking. Inside, they found evidence of long-term observation posts overlooking major historical battle sites, from Alexander's campaigns to Operation Anaconda. Each position was expertly placed for maximum tactical advantage, suggesting these beings had been studying human warfare since its inception. The walls bore fresh markings recording recent coalition force movements. The first direct contact occurred at 14:47 hours. Staff Sergeant Williams was documenting a series of carved tactical diagrams when the mountain itself seemed to exhale. A massive figure emerged from a previously undetected tunnel entrance, its movements displaying an unsettling blend of raw power and military precision. The thermal signature matched what they'd seen in Shadow Team's final footage, but the reality defied their combat-hardened expectations. The being's muscular structure suggested strength that could tear through modern body armor like paper. The entity's behavior confirmed their worst fears. It executed modern breaching techniques with devastating efficiency, demonstrating an understanding of current close-quarters battle doctrine that could only come from generations of systematic observation. More terrifying was its ability to use the terrain's acoustic properties to coordinate with others of its kind, turning the mountain itself into a communication network. The team's radio frequencies were suddenly flooded with those deep, resonating frequencies that seemed to carry tactical information. Morrison's team found themselves facing an enemy that had spent millennia preparing for this moment. Their night vision optics captured glimpses of massive figures moving through rehearsed battlefield maneuvers, using tactics that had only been developed in the last few decades. The creatures weren't just learning human warfare, they were perfecting it, combining ancient strength with modern military strategy. Their movements suggested a coordinated operation that had been planned with inhuman patience. The recovery mission had become a desperate fight for survival against an adversary that had been patiently studying human combat evolution since before recorded history. As night fell, the deep resonating sounds from within the mountain took on a more urgent tone, suggesting their presence had triggered something long dormant. The team's thermal imaging showed multiple large heat signatures converging on their position, moving with tactical precision that matched their own special operations training. The situation deteriorated rapidly after first contact. Hunter 2's attempt to reach Shadow Team's last known position met with calculated resistance. The entities employed combined arms tactics that shouldn't have existed before the 20th century, coordinating their movements through those deep, penetrating frequencies that resonated through the mountain stone. Their ambush positions demonstrated an understanding of modern counterinsurgency operations that had taken human militaries decades to develop. At 2200 hours, the team's forward element located the missing Shadow Team members, alive, but in a catatonic state inside a previously unmapped chamber. The scene defied military protocol. The chamber walls displayed thousands of years of tactical observations, from ancient battle formations to modern special operations techniques. Each diagram showed progressive refinement, as if the entities had been perfecting their understanding of human combat through millennia of patient study. The most recent annotations detailed NATO special operations tactics used in current operations. The rescue attempt triggered an immediate response. Massive figures emerged from concealed positions, moving with a coordination that spoke of centuries of tactical evolution. Their use of terrain masking and interlocking fields of fire matched current special operations doctrine perfectly. More disturbing was their adaptation to modern night fighting techniques. They understood the limitations of night vision equipment and used them to their advantage. The beings communicated through subsonic frequencies that penetrated the mountain itself, coordinating their movements with terrifying precision. Master Sergeant Chen's final transmission described something that broke their understanding of military history. The entities weren't just mimicking human tactics, they were improving them. They combined their inhuman strength and size with an understanding of modern combat that came from studying every army that had ever crossed these mountains. Each movement demonstrated the culmination of thousands of years of military observation adapted for beings of enormous size and strength. The team's helmet camera footage captured fragments of what followed. The creatures employed battle tactics that incorporated everything from Alexander's phalanx formations to current counterinsurgency doctrine, seamlessly blending ancient combat with modern warfare. They demonstrated an understanding of fire and maneuver that suggested they had been preparing for this confrontation through centuries of patient observation. Their movements showed not just learning, but evolution, taking human military doctrine and improving it with their superior physical capabilities. Morrison's last command decision was to trigger a tactical withdrawal, but the entities had anticipated this. They employed containment strategies that had only been developed in the past decade, turning the team's own doctrine against them. The mountain passages, which they had navigated for millennia, became a maze of interlocking kill zones, designed with modern combat principles in mind. The beings used their knowledge of human warfare to herd the team into carefully prepared positions, demonstrating a mastery of tactical manipulation that spanned centuries of military evolution. Only 3 members of Hunter 2 survived the extraction. Their debriefing documents, heavily redacted, paint a picture that fundamentally alters our understanding of military history. The entities hadn't just been observing human warfare. They had been orchestrating a millennia-long study of our combat evolution, using the Hindu Kush as their laboratory. The survivors' testimony described creatures that had turned the entire mountain range into a vast military research facility, documenting and perfecting combat techniques through centuries of patient observation. The recovered Shadow Team members never regained full consciousness. Their brain scans showed patterns consistent with complete psychological shutdown, as if their minds simply couldn't process what they had witnessed. The only coherent statement came from their team leader, who kept repeating, "They know everything. They've seen it all. Every battle, every war. Learning, always learning." Medical experts noted that their catatonic state wasn't caused by physical trauma, but by exposure to something that fundamentally challenged their understanding of warfare and human history. Analysis of recovered video footage revealed something that sent shockwaves through JSOC command. The entities displayed an understanding of not just current military doctrine, but its entire evolutionary process. They could seamlessly transition from ancient phalanx formations to modern fire team tactics, demonstrating how each era of warfare had built upon the last. Their movements suggested they had been active participants in this evolution, subtly influencing human combat development throughout history. Each new tactic they demonstrated showed how they had studied, adapted, and improved upon human military strategies. The most disturbing evidence came from geological surveys conducted in 2019. Decades of warfare in Afghanistan, from Soviet bombing campaigns to modern precision strikes, had been steadily collapsing the ancient tunnel networks. The entities weren't just being studied, they were being forced closer to the surface. Each new conflict in the region further deteriorated their subterranean domain, pushing them toward inevitable contact with the modern world. The very weapons and tactics they had spent millennia studying were now threatening their underground sanctuary. Lieutenant Colonel Morrison's final report, sealed in the highest levels of classified archives, included a chilling assessment. These beings haven't been hiding from us. They've been studying us. Every war, every battle in these mountains has been a lesson for them. They've watched us develop from spears to smart bombs, learning and adapting. Now, with their underground habitat compromised by our own weapons, they're being forced into a confrontation they've spent millennia preparing for. The officially documented case of the Kandahar giants remains open. Military patrols in the Hindu Kush still report encounters with massive figures moving with tactical precision through the mountains. Each sighting demonstrates an ever-increasing sophistication in modern combat techniques, suggesting these ancient observers continue their patient study of human warfare, adapting and evolving with each new conflict that scars their mountain domain. Their emergence may not be a matter of if, but when. And they've had thousands of years to prepare for that moment. If this classified file from the War Maestro's archive has shaken your understanding of military history, take a moment to secure your position. Check your thermal optics, and perhaps question every large heat signature you've seen in the mountains. Subscribe to access more restricted files from humanity's darkest battles. Activate that notification bell. You'll want to be alerted when the next classified document is declassified. Leave a comment below with your own unexplained encounters from the battlefield. Remember, those giants in the mountains are still watching, still learning, and still waiting for the perfect moment to apply their millennia of tactical observations.